Hey, welcome, folks. We are taking a look at the new Teams meeting controls here on StreamYard. So let's take a look from the Teams application. I'm using a personal version of Microsoft Teams. If I hit Control Shift Escape, we can see here that I'm looking at a constant load of about 20% on my NPU, or neural processing unit. And the reason for that is because I am using the Creative Filter Animated, which uses local resources to go ahead and give me kind of an animated cue, if you will, to my video. Well, the thing I have been waiting for is the new share experience in Microsoft Teams. So if you're familiar with the share experience in Microsoft Teams today, the share experience does not necessarily do a really good job of giving you previews of what you're sharing and the like. It doesn't necessarily give you all those details. So if I leave this meeting, let's take a look at how we got there in the first place. We go to Teams, we're logged in, we go to a particular chat, we go to setup, we log in, we can turn on a video effect here. Let's do an animated video effect. And let's hop back into our meeting. And then let's see if we can get upstairs and set up a secondary monitor, because I don't have a secondary monitor hooked up to the computer, so I don't see the secondary screen dialog box by default upstairs. I should get that secondary dialog box, and we can take a look at what that looks like and how that works in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so here we are, sharing our screen. I was sharing my screen. Let's make sure I'm sharing it again here. Probably not sharing it because of the change to, yep, it's the change to the screen setup that stops it. So let's share the screen again here. There we go. Now you should be able to see my screen sharing. And when we go to share, the share experience now shows my ultra wide monitor as my screen 2. I can decide some of my screen options for sharing, and my video overlay, and I get that screen preview of what I'm going to be sharing. So that if I have, let's say, PowerPoint up on a screen, let's move PowerPoint to our secondary monitor. There we go. And then let's take a look at something related to Teams specifically in that secondary monitor. What we should see here when we go to the share dialog box, and it looks like it's not updating real time, is you can see that I've got that PowerPoint document open on the secondary monitor. So on the first monitor, no PowerPoint, but let's open the task manager there and kind of move the task manager around and see if that preview is live. It doesn't look like it's live. but now it shows me what's going to be shared. I wonder if I put my task manager on top, always on top, if it would always on top. There we go. Let's close this and open it again. There we go. So you can see that the always on top task manager is there, and on screen 2, I would get a preview of what I'm sharing, which is my secondary monitor here. So stop sharing, share dialog box, 2 monitors, previews of what I'm going to share before I share, and the windows organized down here. So I've got Explorer and my StreamYard and my different documents open. And then interactive files should go out to my OneDrive. I don't have a OneDrive in the tenant that I'm accessing, but I have some of the other functionality. So the other things that we've looked at previously, raise hand feature is located under the React menu, and I can drag and drop these controls out of this dialog box. So if I keep my hand raised, mute, unmute, what I should see is my hand go down, or the option to lower my hand. Let's go here, lower hand. Let's see if we can actually, yep, there we go. So we can drag and drop icons like the timer and the captions up to the bar there. And then the captions would show up. And when I turn off the captions, they either go back down to here or they stay up on the toolbar. So you just grab something and you drag it to the more menu to add it to more. And then React, we could drag back over to the more, and then it goes back to the React. So this is a little more full-fledged demo of some of the things that are going to be coming to Microsoft Teams. Let's see if I can find my StreamYard window. Let's move it to our other monitor, and then we should be able to see if there are any questions based on our findings so far. Let's take a look here. See if we have any questions. Comments section. So we should be able to put comments up real time and say, any questions? And if you have questions some other time, I'll be able to do those. Just won't be real time. But feel free to add questions to LinkedIn or to, what's the other platform I'm live on? LinkedIn. Let's get logged in here to my other account. See if we can move things over to this other window. Okay, so we're gonna see if we can go into this window and get logged in. There we go. Okay, so I'm logged to LinkedIn now. I'm going to go to my LinkedIn profile. Live for any questions. I don't see any, but we're going to put up a new Teams meeting experience. Okay, and then what should happen there is we should see those in StreamYard. So we can show the questions live on LinkedIn as well as YouTube. My YouTube is DREY, Dre, MSFT, and my LinkedIn is still Dre, STILLDREY on LinkedIn. So if you have any questions, feel free to post those on YouTube or LinkedIn. Okay, looks like it's back now. And that's good because otherwise it's kind of hard to stay live if you lose your internet connection. Let's see if we are still live on LinkedIn here. If we were to refresh there. Yeah, looks like we're still live. Looks like the question came up okay, but the question hasn't appeared in StreamYard yet, which is interesting. I'm on my LinkedIn profile. I'm logged in as myself to the profile. Maybe that's why the message doesn't show up. But these are the new Teams meeting settings. If you haven't played around with those, I have some early access to them. I've been playing around with different ways to potentially do this or get access to this. And one of the ways that I learned about was the Teams developer access. So I've been playing around with some of the developer settings for Teams. Although I wouldn't consider myself a full-fledged developer, I did decide it might be worth playing around with some of those developer settings to see if I could get things working here from a Teams perspective. And what I did was in the main Teams window here, if I can bring that up, I was able to get the Teams Labs. And then from the Teams Labs, I was able to tell it I want the new meeting controls. And then with the new meeting controls, that's how when I go into the meeting, I have the new meeting experience as opposed to the old meeting experience. One of the things I really like about the new meeting experience is the leave button is separated from all the other controls. And I think it's under general new meeting controls. You can tell it that you want those. And you can also say, I want to confirm whether I'm leaving a meeting before I leave the meeting. And then under settings, appearance, you can decide if you have the light or the dark theme. So if I set it up for the light theme, go into our meeting here and Pop into our meeting. Now we have the light mode experience of the new meeting controls. And we have the, are you sure you want to leave? With that being separated from the share control, I don't think it's as likely that you're going to hover over to the far right when there's no options next to it and inadvertently click the leave button. I believe this also fixes, nope, it doesn't fix the X window. So X still allows you to potentially drop out of a meeting without the "Are you sure?" message. But we get the new meeting experience with the screens capability. Now that I have two screens hooked up, I can see the preview of the two screens, what's on them, before I go ahead and share. I believe the same thing happens when I share another window. So if I share, let's say, my PowerPoint, I see a preview of what I'm sharing in PowerPoint before I click on the share button. And then when I click on the share, I get this little minimized view of the meeting window, and I can maximize my view as well. Then I have the stop sharing and the stop sharing buttons available to me as well. So stop sharing at the top is not visible in the StreamYard connection, but it is visible to me on the screen. So there are some controls that it looks like may get deprecated, like I can't see the minimized view of the Teams controls. Let's see if those are captured in a screenshot. Go to my screenshots here, folder. Go to my most recent screenshot. Yeah, it doesn't even have it here. So it's a breadcrumb to the far lower right when I have the Teams meeting controls minimized, but those don't get shared through StreamYard screen sharing. So if you have any questions, I'm here live on a Sunday afternoon playing around with the new meeting controls. Those new meeting controls include things like the timer. So I can actually grab the timer and I should be able to drag it up. And then what I can do with the timer, let's say I want to go live for another 15 minutes. I can set a timer for 15 minutes and everybody, not just me in the meeting, sees the timer now. So it's not just me that sees the timer. Same thing with the video effects. If I'm playing around with video effects quite a bit, I can get to video effects here, show all video effects, scroll to the bottom, take a look at the ones that are available, and apply those quicker than having to go to the more menu, settings, video effects. And then if I'm not using the timer or the video effects, I can drag them back to the more three dots, and those hide in place. So Microsoft's done a lot of work here in this new interface to clean up what we had as options within the new meeting controls. I'm going to go grab my phone, make sure the sound is working okay. I'll be right back. See if my sound is working okay. Turn up my sound on my phone a little bit. And then see when I come back into the frame of the video, if we have sound here. Okay. So it does look like we have some folks here. Awesome. Okay. So feel free to ask questions if you have any. Hopefully I will see those live. If I don't see them live, I will see if I can hop into them later and answer those questions. I'm actually going to see if I can log in as my other account here. We can do that on my other phone. Just to see if that's the issue with posting of a comment. I'm not sure exactly what's stopping me from posting a comment from LinkedIn and sharing that in StreamYard. So I'm going to see if I can pop in and see what's causing that. So the video effects can be put up on the meeting ribbon or the meeting controls, and then all of the other settings hide under more to the right here. So that's a new feature in the Microsoft Teams experience, and they added that very recently. So you probably haven't seen the new meeting experience share controls. Now that I'm running the new Teams meeting experience from the client, not just from the web page, I get the new client experience for sharing a screen. So whether it's an app window like PowerPoint or any other window that I have open, I can preview up in the upper right. I can see either a large preview or a small preview of that decision. And then I can go ahead and share after I've confirmed, hey, maybe I'm trying to share what's on my ultra wide screen. And then I can see that I have Task Manager and my browser open to the StreamYard preview on that. Maybe I'm not trying to share StreamYard, I'm trying to share my other monitor, so it's easy enough for me to see what's on the other monitor before I share the monitor in Teams. So new meeting experience includes both of those new settings, the windows and the screens being previewed before you go ahead and actually share your screen. So if I want to make sure that maybe I have two PowerPoints open, maybe one's confidential and the other is public, like the new Teams meeting experience PowerPoint, I could go ahead and preview that before I share my screen and then realize, ooh, that's the wrong PowerPoint. That's the one that's not public yet. The guidance from Microsoft on the new meeting experience is that it's being tested internally at Microsoft. It's being tested with Technology Adoption Program customers. It's being tested by a number of customers now in a opt-in fashion. So you have the ability to look at it. It's on the roadmap. The roadmap has been updated as frequently as mid-July. The mid-July update was for updating the dates for getting the new Teams experience, meeting experience. The new dates are late July. So we are just entering the second half of July. I would imagine very soon we will see that new meeting experience because we're kind of approaching the late July timeframe. And then once we reach late July, I'm sure we'll see what all they mean from the new meeting experience being an opt-in. My understanding is that you'll get a message to try the new experience. If you choose to try the new experience, you'll be using the new experience. You'll have the ability temporarily to go back to the old experience. And then if you choose to go back to the old experience, you'll have the old experience for a certain amount of time. And then at some point, you'll have the ability to use that new experience. So I'm going to see if I can hop over to my meeting here from another account. And then from that other account, I'm going to see if I can put in a comment. And then I'm going to see if the comment shows up when I view it. So I have a feeling it's got something to do with the fact that I'm logged in as the same account. It's just acting a little different. So let's see if that's what's happening here. There we go. Okay, we're going live. We go to join. Shows up. Let's see if we put in a comment. Any questions? That question should be on, like, it does have something to do with my account versus another account. So from another account, I said any questions, and that should appear now within the StreamYard. So if you have any questions, feel free to toss them in. If they're real time while I'm live, I will answer them live or test the functionality that you have questions about. If I'm not live, I've got access now, so I can test it later and get back to you. So the idea with the new share experience is that if I have two windows or multiple windows, I have 3 windows typically at work, I have 2 windows typically at home. One of my windows, however, is a ultra widescreen monitor. So I can have a browser or 2 or 3 up and open on that secondary window. If I can show you that experience here, let's see if I can switch in StreamYard to sharing my other screen. So let's drag my StreamYard window over here, drag my Teams window over here, share screen, share my widescreen. There we go. So now what you should be seeing in the meeting is my ultra wide screen where I have a window and then another window next to it. So I've got my taskbar and my taskbar on the left because I'm also beta testing the movement of the taskbar in Windows 11. So I'm doing all sorts of insider stuff this week. Let's see if we can move the taskbar here. There's the ability to, let's see if this will, let me grab it successfully. Might need to use a mouse for this because there we go. So when I drag it up to the top, I should be able to get the 3 panes. And then the 3 panes allow me to kind of put things onto the screen in a slightly different way. Let's see if we can get another window here open. And with that other window, we should be able to see if we can drag it to the top and put it in the middle. And then what it should do is put my Teams window to the far left. Excuse me. So now you can see 3 windows. And if I choose to share, we can see my window with my command prompt what's in my command prompt. I can see what's in my PowerPoint. I can see what's in Teams with my PowerPoint, different windows that I have open, applications I have open, and I get these previews before I actually share that window in Microsoft Teams. So this is a really neat new functionality that we have within Microsoft Teams. I'm going to see if I can go live on a couple other channels here. Well, we are live, I believe, with using StreamYard. I can add these channels. So I'm adding Facebook to the channels that I'm live on. Let's see if that works. Excellent. I'm live on Facebook. Welcome, everybody. I'll give you a quick countdown here to going live. Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome. We're live here on StreamYard. And let's close this window so you can see me all. Hey, everybody. This is a Microsoft Teams updated meeting controls. And I'm going to go ahead and maximize my meeting controls to the far right. And actually, this is across the entire screen. I have an ultra wide screen. So you'll notice I have all sorts of white space. And I have a timer set for 15 minutes. And that timer shows up in a centered meeting experience, as opposed to the meeting experience being all the way over here to the right by the leave the meeting, which I also have the reminder turned on. They added this, I don't know, recently to the settings so that you can set your meetings to remind you before you leave a meeting if you inadvertently click on that, because the share screen used to be right next to that. But now that I'm using the new Teams experience, we'll notice that all of these controls up here in the Teams ribbon or meeting controls are all centered. And one of those controls is the timer. And the timer can actually be dragged. I can grab it here successfully. Let's see if I can grab my timer, move before people. So it looks like there's some options to unpin. And then what happens is unpinned items go down here, and you can drag and drop, or it looks like right click to unpin items. And then to pin items, I would imagine I can right click to pin, and then they come right to the top. So if I have settings like the video effects, I can actually pin those so that they show up at the top, as opposed to hiding elsewhere within the interface. And then now that I'm live on Facebook, as well as my YouTube channel. If you have any questions live, feel free to ask. Those should show up in the StreamYard feed, and I will answer them live. If you have questions later, I'm happy to answer them later as well. So it doesn't have to be live today on Sunday afternoon, but if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll test if I don't immediately know the answer. Microsoft is working diligently on this. So they've been working on the communication about this change and the dates for this change for a while now. If we bring over a browser window here and our Teams new meeting experience window, we can do a search for admin.microsoft.com. Log in as my account that I have admin rights. Go in as that account. And then from an account where I have admin rights, let's go ahead and approve my sign in here. Multi-factor authentication, best practice. Secure your accounts, folks. Make sure they are secured so that people certainly log into those accounts. We'll go down to our health. We'll go down to our message center, and we will do a search for meeting. And then one of several meeting updates includes the custom, what is it called? New Teams meeting apps, or refreshed in-meeting experience, updated July 14th. And here, folks, are our updates on the dates. Updated July 14th, new time frame, new rollout schedule. The redesigned meeting controls will be tested in late July, not early July, and expect to be complete by mid-August. So that's maybe a little less than a month. What I've seen with a lot of these dates and the communication updates that have happened so far is as the dates slip, they have pushed out the dates accordingly. So whether, a couple weeks of testing for enterprise customers and anybody that wants to pre-test these settings with the targeted release, under a month seems a little maybe aggressive from my perspective. I don't have a lot of negative feedback, but still just from a communications and a timing perspective, under a month seems a little aggressive. But either way, the rollout will happen this fall, and then the rollout will take approximately a month. So rolling out in October, and then they're saying by early or late September, they'll be finished with the rollout. So every tenant will get the new meeting controls. And if those dates hold firm, we've got a couple months here, about a month and a half to take a look at it before the rollout begins. The nice thing about these kind of changes is admins are aware of them ahead of time, and then we can plan accordingly. This will affect Windows desktop app for Teams, Mac desktop app for Teams, and the Teams for the web experience. Teams for web is changing from teams.microsoft.com to teams.cloud.microsoft. So if you haven't seen that change, you will see it soon because that's where their URL for Teams. And I believe this tenant may have that change. So if I go to teams.microsoft.com in a browser, what we should see is a message here that says, hey, the URL is changing for Teams. Microsoft. And I didn't see that automatically here in the tenant that I'm accessing. So we'll see if we can flip it over here manually. Let's see if it'll flip over automatically there. Okay. So new meeting experience. Let's take a look at some of the new settings that are in the new meeting experience. Hey, Dad. How are you?
Were you on live?
I still am live on Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook. I wasn't sure. I was looking on FaceTime.
No, it's on Facebook.
Are you watching Spain?
I am not watching Spain. How are they doing? I saw the final was today, but I haven't. Robert Smith's all upset about the halftime, so I'm
Okay.
I'm following that, but not the final. How are they doing?
They're 7 minutes into it. Spain's been controlling the ball
Good.
pretty well, but no score yet. So.
Are you watching at Oakcrest or are you watching somewhere else? Okay.
Yeah, I'm at Oakcrest.
Cool.
So, okay.
Love you. You'll find the video on Facebook and LinkedIn later too. I'm just showing off the new Teams meeting experience.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love you.
Good.
We'll talk to you this Friday, if not sooner.
Yeah, we'll see you on Friday.
Okay.
You know it's Audrey and the owner coming down?
You'd have to ask. I think they're on that chat or one of the chats.
Okay.
But I don't know if they were planning to come down, or Audrey's probably working on a Friday.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd touch base with them.
Yeah.
If either of them want to come or both, they're welcome. So.
Yeah, I think they'd appreciate it, at least the heads up on the ride. But I think Audrey's probably working that day. So.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll check in.
Love you.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Love you. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, folks, thanks for sticking around. The interruption was my dad. He saw I was live, but he thought it was on FaceTime, not on Facebook. So, apparently, the World Cup is going on. The finals of the World Cup, and Spain is playing in it. So, I will have to get updates on that as well this afternoon. But for right now, we're showing off the new meeting controls in Microsoft Teams. We're doing this live, but if you have interest in checking it out later, you are more than welcome to. So here is the current meeting experience. Everything shows up to a right justification in the Teams meeting window. If you have a widescreen or an ultra wide screen, that's more prevalent than if you have a standard monitor. Here's the new meeting experience, which I have in my tenant. And I'm showing you here to the far right. So in the top, I have my video, my microphone, my controls for those. So if I have multiple monitors and mics and cameras available, they show up in that experience. And then the share tray is the other thing that has changed pretty significantly in the new meeting experience. And then in the More menu, I have all the view controls and the join info and settings and add shared display. Many of these options I can pin so they show up at the top as opposed to hiding under the More menu. And then I can unpin those settings so that they go ahead and hide again. So if you have any of these meeting experience items that you don't want or don't use constantly, or you use for this meeting, maybe I'm changing my virtual background quite a bit for branding or other purposes, I can go into the More menu, go under Settings, right click on the video or drag and drop and pin that so that it's easier for me to access virtual backgrounds, maybe branding, whatever it might be, and then switch between those different settings. So if you have any questions about the new meeting experience, not only do I have the PowerPoint now, but I also have the actual new meeting experience. So I've been able to play around with those settings and the pinning to the right centered controls. And then the separation of the leave button means that I don't inadvertently leave a meeting when I'm trying to share my screen. So that's been a nice feature to have separated in the interface. Is the new meeting experience, instead of leave being right next to share, the more menu has items, and then the leave button is completely separated. So you don't get confused by pressing leave and not realizing what you're doing. So looks like this version had some comments in the file, and that I believe is why they are changing the file that was public. I downloaded the file, so I have the the version with the comments in it. So as a MVP, these are the types of things that we get an opportunity to do. Depending on what customer you work for, or if you're part of the technology adoption program, or you're using the release preview of Microsoft Teams, those are ways that you can get this experience a little ahead of everybody else, the general public. So if you're involved with communications, change management, planning for your organization, these are going to be things that you want to be aware of this spring or summer, this summer, in preparation for the fall. So with that, folks, if there aren't any questions, I don't see any on my feed in StreamYard. I'm going to check on my phones, see if there's anything popping up there that indicates questions or feedback. And then if I don't have questions there, I'm going to let you go back to hopefully watching the finals of the World Cup. And I will check these feeds later for any questions that might come up. We've been live for about 45 minutes on LinkedIn and YouTube, and probably about 15 minutes on Facebook, because I just set a timer and the timer is about to complete, which would tell me that I'm probably at about 15 minutes on that other platform. Let's see if I can get my mouse here to reset my timer. There's our next 15 minutes, and the timer can be turned off by clicking on timer. Then timer goes away for everybody in the meeting. In this case, I'm the only one in the meeting, but if others had joined me, we would all be in a meeting with a timer. I have the new meeting experience. The new meeting experience is per user. So because I have the release preview, I would see that before general users at my organization. And then once Microsoft moves that to the tenant level availability, users will get a pop-up. I believe that's in the PowerPoint here, that the new meeting settings are available. And then they'll get a message that says, would you like to try the new meeting experience? I believe it might be in this one. It's the onboarding. Here's the message. So you're going to get an opt-in for the new meeting experience. You can turn that on. If you don't turn it on, there'll be a 10-day waiting period. And then you're going to get prompted again to try it, and you can turn it off for the time being. And then at some point, Microsoft will, just like with Teams 2.0, just decide, hey, everybody's using the new meeting experience, and you'll have this new design available to everybody in your organization. So if you're an early adopter, you'll get this option to turn it on. And then when Microsoft rolls it out widely, they'll give people an option to turn it on, temporarily to turn it off, maybe if they're confused by the new meeting experience, or just more comfortable with the old meeting experience. Everything still seems to be there and functional. It's just moved centered as opposed to the far right justification. So with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks for attending, and have a great Sunday afternoon.